Hi, it's Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Terrific Tuesday. It is that day right before the middle of the week that we thank God for the wonderful ways how He's blessed and kept us. He's kept us from day in and from day out. He continues to lead us and guide us in all ways. Today, take a moment today in all of the busy activities that you might be involved in and say, Lord, I thank you for being such an awesome God. On this terrific Tuesday, I'm going to praise you. I'm going to move forward in my faith. Today is a message that we have entitled Faith Moving Forward. Faith Moving Forward. Please look with me in Hebrews 11th chapter, verses 17 through 22. A very powerful message, a message that begins to chronicle all of those who have walked and lived by faith as well as their actions. In the world in which we live, we need to know that faith is essential. Faith is the means by which we extend what we have within ourselves to reach God and to reach what God has decided that He would make happen in our lives. And we use our faith to walk into those blessings that God has in store for us. Today, I want to ask that you would please look with me at the 17th chapter. We're going to hear about a man by the name of Abraham. The verse records, it was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son Isaac, even though God had told him Isaac would be the son through whom that his descendants would be counted. Abraham reasoned that if God allowed Isaac to die, that God had the power to bring him back again from the dead and give him life. Therefore, Abraham knew he could put his faith in God. Can you imagine? God makes a promise to you. He tells you that you're going to have a son. And now you finally have this only son. And then God says, I need for you to sacrifice that son. Well, this is almost unbelievable that Abraham says, wait a minute, God, you are telling me that I have a promise, the promise that you were going to give me a son by the name of Abraham. And that Abraham would be the one to bring generations to come, and that you're going to bless me through him. And now you're asking me to take the one and only son that I have and to sacrifice him as an offering unto you, and that this is what you would allow me to do. Well, this message that God gives to Abraham becomes somewhat of a foreshadow of God himself, what he would do with his son, Jesus the Christ. His son would come into this world, and that his son would be sacrificed, but he would have the power to raise him up from the dead. Well, in this passage, we begin to see that Abraham had to trust God. Abraham had to believe that God would do just what he said he would do. This was a matter of a test. Have you ever thought about how God wants all of us to be tested on what we live and what we believe? You know, anytime we receive information, anytime we receive knowledge, we have to be tested to make sure that we not only have an head knowledge, but we know how to put that head knowledge into application. It is in this passage that we begin to see how faith is moving forward in Abraham. How God tells Abraham, Abraham, I want you to take your only son, the child that I've promised to you, bring him up to this mountain, offer him as a sacrifice. Well, Abraham believed God, and God saw Abraham about ready to do what he had asked him to do. And God told him to wait. Wait, why? I just wanted you to know that I am able to do exceeding and abundantly above all you're able to ask, say, or think. Well, you know, God used this to be a foreshadow of what he would do with his son, Jesus the Christ. How Jesus came into this world, the child of promise, the one who was birthed to be our Redeemer, and how God would allow him to die, but not only to die, but to be resurrected, that you and I might have life. It is through and by this clear example that we begin to see and understand that God is doing more than you and I could ever figure out or make out. Well, when God decides he's going to do something, he does it. So we have to use our faith in God to believe that he will do just what he says, and that God has great blessings in store for us. It was by faith that Isaac promised that God would do what he would do, how God promised to Isaac he would bless him and his sons. Well, we begin to see how God does this for Isaac, how he does it for Jacob, and God continues to pass on the blessings. He even led them to know and to understand that it is by faith that even when Joseph passed away, they said that we will take his bones with us everywhere we go to remind us of what God promised he would do. My brothers and sisters, we have to move forward in faith, and the only way we can do it is to remind ourselves of the promises that God has in store for us all. He had promises for Abraham. He had promises for Isaac. He had promise for Jacob and for Esau and Joseph, and he has a promise for me and for you. Please know, in this year of 2022, God has a blessing in store for you, and you are exceedingly and abundantly blessed. And I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.